Good morning, everybody. It's Erin Scott here. It's Saturday, the 25th of January, and this is a very casual recording. I'm here with my coffee, and there's a few things to talk about. Firstly, today is, the Chinese New Year, and so we enter into the year of the metal rat. But I'm going to be talking about that in the next video. I'm going to record this video first, and then I'm going to record that one. So I realize that this is late. I'm looking at the new moon in Aquarius, and of course we had that yesterday, Friday, January 24th. Okay, but the reason why I'm still producing this, I apologize for the lateness, but it's still accurate and active for the next month. These new moons imprint the energetic narratives and the themes for growth for this month ahead. So this will serve, those of you interested, this will definitely serve you, okay? So it's information that is maybe going to aid in clarifying some of the thematics that are coming up with your life. By the way, because I haven't been on video, there I am. Hi, everybody. You can see my new glasses. I've had these for a few months now. I love them. But anyway, just a little hello. I don't know what this double image is. It's just, I don't know. It just came about. So there I am. Hi, everybody. I'll be on camera again at some point. But the other thing that I wanted to point out here is that I personally have been really fascinated and intrigued and really I don't know, just fascinated with the shoebill, okay? Shoebills have been really up in my psyche. And so just this morning, before, doing this recording, I went ahead and pulled this image. In fact, I'll show you the whole image because it's beautiful, this high definition image, which was hard to find. But you can see the shoebill. These are massive birds. You can see there's shoebills in the background here. These are native to Africa. Let me see if I can find something. And listen, I don't know why I'm sharing this with you, but it's been really up for me, the shoebill. They are beautiful, whimsical, hilarious, tough animals that are essentially like living dinosaurs. And let me see. Let me take a little sip of my coffee and let me look up where they're located. They're in Africa, but where are they? Okay, so they're in the swamplands from Sudan to Zambia. So in a swath of area, kind of mid-continent there in Africa, okay? But these shoebills, for those of you unfamiliar, they are absolutely fascinating. First of all, they're massive. They're tall. They are, let's see if we have like how many feet. I want to say they're about 3.5 feet tall, but their wingspan is massive. It's like 7 or 8 feet wide or more. So, and you can see that they're known as the shoebill because of their massive bill, which is so quote unquote disproportionate to their face, but this is just their nature. The other thing that they have here, it's a little bit hard to see, but they have this whimsical tuft of feathers up at the top of their head. They are hilarious. So, and one thing that they do, they eat the fish and stuff. They also eat birds and other small critters. They even eat small alligators, because they can, in the swampland. So their natural food is naturally fish. In fact, there's a particular kind of fish. Let's see if I can find that too. I apologize. For those of you not interested, you can log off. But there's something about the shoebill that really has been coming up. I think it's called a monkfish. Let me just see. Because the reason why I'm bringing this up is because there's symbology here. And obviously it's, I think it's monkfish. Yes, so it's the monkfish. That's the primary source of their diet. But again, they eat small alligators and birds on the land. Um, but yeah, they're huge, they're ancient, they're tough, they're survivors, they're very strong in character. And even, I mean, even if we're looking at the qualities or the characteristics of the naturalized form of their face, they have a smile, but they also have a very kind of furrowed brow. This is the nature of their face, the nature of their skeletal structure, the nature of their form. So they have a whimsical nature, the tuft on the head, the massive bill, but there's something there. There's something deeper. There's something wise there. The other thing that they do, for those unfamiliar with the shoebill, is that the way that they, I guess, acknowledge each other with affection is that they clatter. So they clatter their beak together to create almost like a clapping sound. And they also bow. So they shake their head and they bow. They'll do it to their human caregivers. They'll do it to other shoebills. So there's a fascinating aspect to shoebill. Now, however that resonates for you, let it land, because it may very well be that part and parcel to your 2020 cycle, as it evidently is to mine, the shoebill, this kind of ancient, rooted, persevering, strong. There's something about perseverance here, strength here. And a lot of you may be starting to access that or feel that or actuate that in your living experience now that we've entered this 2020 cycle. Now, let's take a look here. The new moon in Aquarius occurred at 4:42. Let me go to my arrow here. It happened at 4:42 Eastern Time US yesterday, the 24th of January 2020. And you can see that the exact point of the Sun-Moon conjunction happened at 4:22. So let's start there, shall we? 4 is stability. It's organization. It's what was I going to say? It's stable, it's organizing. There's a logistical aspect to 4. It has to do with practical foundations. Number 22 equals 4. So in essence here we have 4 and 4. A master number, certainly. 4 and 4 equal 8. With 8 we're talking about power. With 8 we're talking about feedback loops. With 8 we're talking about as within so without. Okay, so there's a reaping what you sow narrative here. The interesting thing with 422 is that we have the self, the sun, and the inner self. So the externalized self and the internalized self, sun and moon, coming together at a 4 degree. This is very practical. The 22 is being some sort of a role model or a teacher, stepping up into the mature state of self, in that you as an individual, in whatever way is appropriate for your blueprint. Again, for those interested, you can link below to my website of services and order your natal blueprint analysis that goes in depth about what you're here to do. Who are you? Why is it that you respond and think the way they do, or the way that you do? Why are the patterns imbued the way they are? What are the mastery arcs? What are you here to grow, right? But the thing is, this internal and externalized self is aligning as it does naturally whenever the sun and the moon come into conjunction. So there's an alignment of self as it relates to you as a stable, organized, and practically minded and practical in your orientation person. Now, this is happening in the sign of Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. Aquarius-Uranus is complex, as you've heard me say many times before. There's a complexity to the archetype. It's complex because it is very broad. Aquarius-Uranus linked to deep space. There's a coldness in deep space. There's a detachment and a disconnect in deep space. But there's also a knowing there. There's a knowing. There's a holistic knowing. There is a relationship to the humanitarian growth and evolutionary process. In fact, Aquarius and Uranus rule or govern the human evolutionary process from the deep past to the future. And the deep past and even our current day present reality can evoke in the devolved human mind, the simplistic human mind, cruelty, fear, old paradigms, a clinging to the past. I'm looking at the clock now and it's 11:11. So just drink in what I'm saying here, okay? Just let it in or not, whatever's appropriate for you. But the point is that Aquarius is complex. And the sun moon coming together here with this cruel, barbaric, detached, apathetic aspect of being human, as well as the more refined, present moment oriented, healthfully detached from the drama human, the more refined, evolved human, the human that is more naturally connected to and interested in the good of the whole. What is for the good of the collective? What is for the good of the human collective, the human family here on this planet? Not just the human family, our animal family, our earth family, the trees, the four-legged, the winged ones, as we hear with, Native Americans speak, because it's true. These are all our family. We are this. In the psyche of the collective and in the psyche of you as an individual, as it relates to your blueprint, you hold shoebill. You also hold rat, which is the narrative for the year ahead with the year of the Chinese metal rat, the Chinese New Year, which I'll talk about in the next video. So there's a certain level of alignment, practical alignment, and an up-leveled 22 role model, the up-leveled 22 teacher that is stepping into a more refined humanitarian orientation. Now, for some people, everybody's different. Everybody is at a different level of their own conscious evolutionary process as a being, okay? So some people are going to more align with this sun-moon conjunction for the month ahead with the more cruel, apathetic, cold, detached orientation of how Uranus can come about. Uranus is also sudden change, abrupt change. There's an abruptness to the Uranus-Aquarius narrative. It can be very blunt and aggressive in its orientation, in its communication style, etc. And indeed, what we have here, of course, is that Mercury at 13 degrees Aquarius is within a 10-degree orb of this new moon. So there's a certain level of alignment with a more practical, up-leveled humanitarian mind and communication style, perhaps. When we're looking at the natural zodiac wheel, everybody, which is what I have here, the starting with 0 degrees Aries. So in this standard kind of generalized narrative of how we're holding the energies for this new moon, this is all activated within this 11th house. And the 11th house is, of course, naturally associated with Aquarius. So where the new moon is happening in Aquarius is also happening in its 11th house, its associated house, which is the house of groups, friends, and belonging. It's the house of tribe and the humanitarian collective. It's the house also of dreaming what you desire, like hopes, wishes, dreams. So there's lots here where there's a new alignment within you as an individual, okay? Now, the other thing that I'm going to point out here, and I have to tell you, this was not something that I mean, it did come to me. It came to me through a client. But what we're looking at this 4 degrees 19 minutes point is a fixed star. And this fixed star is called Dabba. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's Dabih, okay? Now, David with Leo King posted something about this, and ultimately a client had forwarded me the article, and I read it, and it was intriguing, although I don't really work too much with the fixed stars. Occasionally I do, but not too much. This particular one, I was intrigued, so I went outside of that article and I, did a little bit of research on it. Certainly not an expert here whatsoever, but I do want to bring up something fascinating about this particular narrative, because this fixed star at this new moon is significant simply because it's sharing the degree point here. From the tropical Western astrological perspective, this is what we're looking at. So this particular fixed star is known as the lucky one of the slaughterers. And there's different ways to interpret that, right? Your psyche is going to interpret that different than anybody else's. It's distinct for you, right? But what we have, the lucky one of the slaughterers, indicates good luck, good fortune at this kind of winter point, this Capricorn turning point, okay? It's also, this particular fixed star of Dabba is associated with an Arabic lunar mansion. And the meaning, and the Arabic lunar mansion is one of 27 different, parts of the sky, essentially. And this particular lunar mansion, where this fixed star resides, is this. So this was written by somebody by the name of Robson. Essentially, this particular placement represents helping the escape of servants and captives, and the curing of diseases. So I want you to feel into that for a second. It helps the escape of servants and captives, and it helps the curing of diseases. Okay? So why is that significant? Well, there's a couple of things at play. One, this is happening in Aquarius, humanity. So as it relates to humanity, the self, the inner and outer self, is aligning with this narrative of Dabba, right? That's just natural. This is nature that we're looking at here. Okay? So what does that mean for you? How does this live and impact your natal chart? The thing here that I want you to understand, let me take a little sip of my coffee here. The thing that I want you to kind of understand too is that we're looking at this outbreak of the coronavirus, which originated in Wuhan, China, recently. I think the outbreak really got going in December. So this is only 6 weeks old or something, but it's significant. So, because what we have here is this kind of curing of diseases. Well, indeed, there's an attempt to contain this coronavirus that's activated now, and by the way, has spread globally already, right? This is a significant time frame, as all of you know. This is a significant chapter of the human condition, is what I'll call it, in our growth process, in our evolutionary process. And the Dabba Sun-Moon conjunction at this very practical degree in the complex sign of Aquarius, which, by the way, according to the natal chart for China, this is just a side note, everybody, but according to the natal chart of China, if I'm correct, I looked it up yesterday, I don't have the chart with me now, I believe their natal moon for the country for the signature, the blueprint of China itself, or the modern iteration of China, I should say, their moon is located at this point. It's located, I think, at 3 degrees Aquarius. So this is significant, is it not? There's an impact here. Keep in mind what I said. Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, is complex because it brings about sudden activities, actions, movements, changes, evolutions. It also brings forward sudden opportunities, right? And everything that does emerge certainly is an opportunity for growth, right? But this is something very interesting here because indeed something did emerge out of the country where the inner moon is impacted, or the signature of the moon, the inner self. The other thing that's interesting that I'll say, and a lot of you probably know this, is that this coronavirus originated in I guess Wuhan, but it came from humans ingesting animals that are similar to, let's see if I can look up the name. It's similar to like a beaver animal in China. And the animal itself had the virus and is impacting humans in a way that's fatal. So there's something to be said for that. What does that mean for you? What is it about how the animal was harvested or killed, or even eating that particular animal, consuming that animal? Perhaps for some of you, you're going to understand what I say. What about the narrative of consuming animals? That's not going to resonate for all of you. A lot of you consume animals and you're fine with it. But the point is, there's thinking that needs to happen here about the systems at play. Certainly, the animal that was chosen to consume is saying no. So why is that the case? Who knows? That's going to emerge. That's going to develop. We're all going to have our different ideas about it. But there's something here, the curing of diseases, this particular practical alignment with the trauma signature that also lives in Aquarius. Again, complex sign. It holds all the trauma and barbarism and cruelty, the signature of the trauma that came from past human barbarism and cruelty. And Aquarius holds the refined, clean, free self, both simultaneously. That's the paradox of this particular sign. That's at least part of the complexity. So there's quote unquote good and there's quote unquote bad. There's all kinds of things with this particular sign. Here, there's a practical up-leveling of self and mind as it comes to the issues at play happening with humanity. And somehow it's very directly linked to this particular narrative, which helps the escape of servants and captives, and also the curing of diseases. The helping of captives is interesting in its own right, because there's the humanitarian tendency coming through a lot of people at this time, wanting to do more, practically do more, to create the systems change perhaps that's necessary in the world that we now live in. This is a choice that we're all living in. The systems that are playing out, or that have come into creation, have been human created. It's a choice. There's all kinds of different realities that we could be living now. The other thing about this particular new moon, everybody, and for this month ahead, as I said, for the majority of February, is activated by Varuna down here at 2 degrees 56 minutes Leo. It's talking specifically and very directly to this alignment. Now, what does this look like? Well, it can look like two different things, or at least many different things, but two extremes. This particular alignment of this Aquarian self and the Aquarian mind linked to Leo PowerPoint. Varuna, this Hindu god, for me in the chart represents a natural confidence. It's like it's untethered by woundings. It can be very untethered. So there's almost this kind of arrogant, entitled, early degree Leo narrative of I can do anything I want, perhaps. I feel confident I can create the world I want. Well, this is quite good as it relates to this. There's a confidence inside and creatively, by the way, a creative and confident orientation of the self as it relates to the new practical alignment for humanity. You can see how this can bring beautiful things, beautiful, matured ways by which people step up to the plate and do what's needed, right? The other way that this can show up by this opposition is an arrogance and entitlement that's feeding a more cruel orientation of self, a more detached orientation of self. And I can tell you right now that that is in fact the case, indeed wholly the case, evidently the case, with regards to at least one aspect of a public political phenomena that's going on right now. There is a level of self-denial and detachment, self-cruelty, and self-cruelty always expresses as cruelty to others, right? So people that are cruel to themselves, period. That's how it happens. That's what it is. That's the energetics of it. Those that are cruel think cruelly. Their actions reflect their mind. So you don't need to argue with people that disagree with you, everybody. This is a matter of just noting the behavior. Actions speak louder than words. It's a matter of trusting your own assessment of the actions. They're aligned or they're not. They're ethical or they're not. Right? Truth is clear when we're clear. But the thing here is this can activate an entitled cruelty that impacts humanity for some. For others of us, this is a matter of feeling more confident, and it's feeding the new, matured, practical, and stable self that is oriented toward benefiting the whole. What is for the benefit of the collective? Now, what else do we have here? We have this square happening here between Venus-Neptune, very interesting, and Mars-Lilith. So there's a belief in the mind that is charged, angered, enraged at women, the feminine, the disempowered. There can be some aggression happening with regards to those in society, in the world, different nationalities of people that are less than or perceived as less than. Mars is the masculine. Mars, Aries, is the start of the zodiac wheel. It's the infant. This is reactionary belief system. This is enraged, angry, aggressive, masculinized, needing to overpower belief system. This is might equals right belief system. And this is squaring Venus, which is woman, at 13 degrees is also the feminine, the number of the feminine. So on an existential basis, Pisces, in the consciousness field, spiritually, existentially, there is a bit of a battle between an aggressive reactionary belief system of the need to overpower and devalue anything or anyone that doesn't share our might equals right, doubling down orientation. There is this square to a more internalized spiritual process, a karmic process, when it comes to woman and the feminine qualities within the self, how you feel and intuit, and the connection to Neptune, karmically at 16 degrees. Indeed, 13 is also a karmic degree. So we have this kind of connection here with Venus combined with the functionality of Neptune. And when we're looking at the square and when we're looking at the karmic degree, there's a couple of things we're looking at. For some people, this is going to be a diluted sense of values, diluted morality. Our value systems is ruled by Venus. Venus rules our ethos. And what we have here is confused ethic, diluted ethic. This is about cognitive dissonance playing out, especially as it relates to Lilith Mars in the belief system or the construct of one's truth. So what people believe to be true, might equals right. Men, this is about men too, because we're talking about Mars. But certainly this is the god of war. So there's this aggressive energy that just persists in overpowering and being aggressive and conflict oriented. So there can be this kind of internal conflict in the individuals of the humanitarian collective that's being played out now and this month ahead. Okay? So Mars Lilith is, I need to devalue you. Okay? It's also other things, by the way. Lilith Mars is also within the individual. Like if we were looking at this chart as it's an individual versus an event, Lilith on Mars is, I believe, the individual would not believe, that their efforts, their actions, their passion, their driver, their motivations, their energy is indeed valued. Okay? So there's a narrative here within this quote unquote event, which is also saying my actions are not valued. And that actions not valued in the belief system is actually in conflict with, there's an energetic relationship that's a bit contentious with this skewed value system. Venus, by the way, is how you love and value the self. Venus is many things. The function of all of these planets is many. Venus is values, our values. So it's what we value. Do we value money, beauty? Do we value woman, the feminine? It represents woman. It represents beauty, sex, attractiveness. Money, finances is also here. But ultimately, Venus is about what we value in our life, how we value the self and what we value. So there's kind of this, are my actions even seen, heard, impactful? Do they matter? Are they valued? Well, the answer is that's up to you. This is your healing to do. This is the collective healing to do, but it's also your individual healing to do. You are responsible to participate in your own healing. Lilith Mars means that the wounding is, are your actions valuable? Well, you believe they're not right now. There could be some stuff activated for this month ahead where that gets triggered, or you get to see what it is that I'm saying here. You'll be able to witness it in your life, in your responses to things, in the narratives that are coming up for you. Are my actions valuable? Here you will find that you will be overpowered by others about your actions, and indeed your belief systems and sometimes your teachings will not be valued. Because as within, so without. So if we don't feel inside in our belief system, in our truth, that our actions are valued, and we believe that to be true, what's going to happen is outside, people will not value our ideas, philosophies, teachings, learnings, wisdom. Specifically, by the way, and again, what I said before, masculine overpowering might equals right is also kind of another thread of how this shows up. The square down here again is diluted value system. This is a testing point of, do people own and align their actions with the moral compass that they have, or have they fully lost the moral compass? Many people on the public stage have lost their moral compass. And they're playing off of the delusion, the collective delusion in the consciousness field that human beings are absorbed in and not able to discern truth because of various reasons. Okay, so some people are just floating in what is truth versus actually tapping in to know what the truth is. Because actually identifying truth from falsehood is easy. And if the mind, if the mass collective human mind were awake, discerning, and conscientious, and willing to own and not lie about their own internalized dialogue and mental orientation, we would not be having any discussion here. There would be no growth to be had then. Because the dishonesty of the mind that creates this cognitive dissonance patterning looks like aggression. And it looks like aggression too to like other cultures, right? It looks like aggression to, and a demeaning and might equals right to the people of the world, Sagittarius. We still have all of this conjunction, everybody. South Node, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn with Ceres and Pallas Athena. So Pallas Athena is beginning Capricorn journey. Ceres is ending it. Pallas Athena, the feminine. Ceres, the feminine. This is about the goddess of wisdom. Also the goddess of war. So this is a fighting spirit and a wisdom of experience that's embodied, starting off its path through the archetype of Capricorn. And we have Ceres, the goddess of harvest, reaping what we sow here at the end. In between, we have all of this major transformation of old patterns of belief system and truth, and a transformation and maturity of how we and where we find our safety and security in life. Okay? Chiron and Black Moon Lilith are together. So the signature for the month ahead is there's a bit of a sensitivity and a vulnerability, a bit of self-doubt as it relates to our energy, our impact, and our actions. And it's impacted or linked to the narrative of devaluation, which is Lilith. So a bit of a wounding about not feeling like the self is valued. Each of us as individuals and the collective are going through that process of maturity. So what does that mean, everybody? What's the healing then? What is the healing with Lilith on Chiron? Well, of course, the healing is to value, Lilith, your own woundings and the wisdom of the woundings. What is your trauma signature? What are the patternings of your life? For those of you that have not ordered your natal analysis yet, you can be in touch. The links are below. Okay? So Lilith, Chiron, there's a devaluation here of the self. There's a devaluation of your wounds. This can be some self-shaming, some internalized dialogue of I'm wounded and thus I'm not valued. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not the evolutionary arc of this narrative. This particular signature is saying you precisely have to value your wounds because there's another side of the coin, a major other side of the coin when it comes to Chiron. And that, of course, is Chiron is the master, teacher, and healer. Each of you out there is a master, teacher, and healer. Now, does this mean that each one of you is going to present on the global stage in the same way? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There is extreme functionality and beauty and perfection and grace in every one of the 7 billion people on this planet operating in their particular blueprint that's associated with their truth. Your aligned self is the free self, which doesn't suffer, which flows in its natural way. And not everybody is to, impact the field with more information, more data points, content creation, quote unquote, which has been such a driver, a ridiculous driver, an immature driver. Part and parcel and embedded within the system of, everybody making their own living out there, which that's going to happen. This is happening with all the transformation in Capricorn. People are leaving, corporations are dying out, there's layoffs, there's closures, plants closing, etc. We're going to see more and more and more of that. But there's then the rearticulation, the new systems that are coming into play over the next several years. And the new systems will have employees, but many people are being replaced by, as Andrew Yang says, you know, robotics and all that kind of stuff, which has been happening over years. The other thing is, with the systems that are in existence, there are great changes yet to come. These behemoth corporations, these multinational global corporations, I'm sorry, major changes are afoot, right? And so a lot of people are leaving the paycheck working for the employer scenario and moving into their own work and business. That's lovely. And it doesn't all look the same. It's not about filling the airwaves with content, meaningless, qualityless, over-exaggerated, over-egoic, inflated crap. That's not what the evolution of humanity, the right alignment of the evolution of humanity looks like. Not if we are to live in a peaceful, natural state of flow. And that's for each individual to navigate the understanding and the alignment with that. It aligns with you, it doesn't. Ultimately, what is the peaceful life and society? What do the systems look like? It's not plastic clogging up the oceans. It's not Australia. By the way, I'm going to have another video coming out on the symbology of koalas and kangaroos. Okay? Australia is going through a major transformational process here. Is it a natural system? Well, of course it's a natural system, but there's complexity to it. There's an up-leveling to it. There's a ratcheting up. There's an extremity factor. And the extremity factor that Australia is experiencing, and that indeed all systems throughout the planet, including political systems, is experiencing, including the human psyche, what that's experiencing, the extremity is a reflection of quote-unquote mind, consciousness. The field is out of balance, or rather the human mind is skewed in what it is attending to, listening to, mindful of. Okay? So the imbalance has to do with mind, and that imbalanced mind creates the extremity that we see externally of what's within. As without, what's within. As within, what's without. It's easy, everybody. So easy. So all the systems rearticulations happening externally must come from a systems rearticulation of the mind. And indeed, when we're looking at this new moon here in Aquarius, this is an air sign. It's an air sign. So this has to do with thought, mind. There's a new practicality, organization, maturity, groundedness coming with this 4-degree, 22-minute point of alignment. Okay? Now, I think that's all I want to talk about, actually. We've already talked about Sedna. I did that in the last video. We've talked, of course, about the nodal axis. Beautiful. I'm going to leave it there, everybody. I hope that this was of aid to you, of help for the themes for this month ahead. Again, as I'm recording this, I'm drinking my Pete's coffee, and I am about ready to look at this Year of the Rat. It's not going to be too long. It will be just a short stint, but take a look for that video. What I will say is, you know, actually, what was I just going to say? It completely went out of my head. So I'm going to trust that. So I'll bring it up if it comes back before filming the next video. All right, everybody. So my links are below. By the way, for those interested in membership, there's a couple interesting options for membership that might serve some of you. There's a limited number of spaces remaining with regards to one of the tiers. For those interested, you can go to my Patreon page. And what I would recommend is that you wait to join until the 1st of February so that you are aligned with the timing that they charge, which is on the 1st of the month, okay? So for those interested, you can join as called. Much love. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.